I'm fascinated by how frequent it is that we misremember stuff. So we get this with family and friends when we're sharing a story, and we're going, wait, my version of this event is totally different than yours. And so if you start to understand that that's because of how the memory process works, how the brain lays down these memories in the first place, and then how they change over time, then we realize, oh, maybe that person, maybe my brother or sister or friend isn't lying about their version. Maybe that's just their personal reality. Maybe that's genuinely what they think they remember, even if maybe that didn't happen.
So in a legal situation, how do we work out if somebody's version of events, if somebody's memory of something is accurate or not?
You can't look at an account in and of itself, so it's an isolated piece, and say this happened, or this is a lie, or this is a false memory. You can look for other evidence, though, and you can look at the way in which a memory was recalled. And so as a social psychologist, what I do is I actually, in the lab, implant false memories. So I convince people intentionally, I hack their memories, I convince them intentionally that they did things.
How do you do that?
How do you do that? You do that with suggestion, you do that with leading questions, you do that with what's called misinformation, which is when you tell someone that they did something that didn't happen. A bit like fake news.
So what's going on in the brain then when we create a memory, and how is it that it's able to be manipulated in that way?
How is it that we create a false memory?
Yeah.
Well, for one, you generally need to believe that someone has information about your life that you don't, certainly in the social construction of a false memory. And then from that point on, it's confusing things that you just imagined with things that you experience. Because if you look at the brain, imagined events actually look surprisingly similar to remembered and actual events. So it's confusing those two things, and maybe taking pieces of real memories but combining them in a way that never actually happened. So a real person, a real place, and a real time, but those three things never happen at the same time. So that's certainly what I do in the lab, is I get people to confuse and to reconnect these pieces in a way that never happens, which ultimately is the same process that allows us to have creativity, problem solving, intelligence. It's not a negative thing, it's a necessary human characteristic, but sometimes it can get us in trouble.